The recon section of the practical ethical hacking course, which is part of the PNPT track, is probably the most useful and practical sections of any cybersecurity course that I've ever taken. I've taken SANS courses worth several $1,000s, and they did not have any parts of their course that were as practical and as useful as this particular section. It's tool heavy, but I found it useful to kind of walk through Heath's and in general kind of the general approach to initial recon for a bug bounty kind of focus or for a penetration test kind of focus. I found it to be incredibly useful. Heath walked through literally everything from subdomain enumeration to Google Foo to using social media, which was super cool. He kind of walked through it from the perspective of a bug bounty sort of focus, but you could immediately see how it would be applicable to a penetration test as well. Really, it kind of like cemented my love for the course. I skipped several sections. If you were kind of wondering, if you're following along in the playlist that I've got, or if you've kind of watched the previous videos I've had on the PNPT, you'll notice that I skipped over the introduction to Linux, setting up our lab, introduction to Python, things like that. I'm already familiar with Linux. I'm already familiar with Python. I already know how to set up virtual boxes, so I didn't really need to go over those portions. But the great part about only having to spend $30 on a course is that you don't really feel bad skipping certain portions of it that you already know. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I really love Heath's coursework. But I moved straight to the information gathering or reconnaissance portion of the course. It walks through, all kinds of really great stuff. It's roughly, probably roughly half an hour worth of coursework. But it really walks through, several different incredibly useful tools that you would use on kind of the initial recon stage of a penetration test or the initial recon stage of a bug bounty kind of mission. So, I think he did a great job on this. I think one of the only kind of like nitpicky parts that I would say wasn't as useful is that it was heavily tools focused, which is good. He pointed out several really awesome online tools, paid and free tools, as well as like CLI type tools. It wasn't as great on talking about information management. I know he had a whole section on note taking before, but for example, I would have liked to have seen him go over like, here's how you can pipe the output of this command to this file and the output of that command to this file, and then diff the two to find like new subdomains that were found by tool A but not by tool B. It would have been really cool to see like how he manages information in a real penetration test, not like actually like here's how I type out my notes, but like if he uses any kind of database software to kind of manage that stuff. Again, awesome, incredibly practical section of this course, but it would have been a little bit, it would have been nice to kind of have seen a little bit more than just here's a command that you can run against this domain, here are some of the flags that you need, run it. It would have been cool to see like the information management side, kind of pivoting on different things, comparing the tools a little bit more directly. He has like several sections that only cover like one or two tools each. Would have been nice to kind of see like a comparison between the two. But again, that's super nitpicky. I think the section of the course was awesome, and I'm really looking forward to the next section. This section was a lot of kind of passive recon, passive like enumeration, which if you're not familiar with the term, he goes over it in the course, but it's basically passive kind of scanning and passive reconnaissance does not actually touch the infrastructure that you're studying, while active reconnaissance and active enumeration will actually hit the servers that you're focusing on. So this initial stage can be super valuable because you're not going to tip off the target that you're scanning their stuff. You're not going to overwhelm their web servers or anything like that either. But the next section, it looks like, is the scanning and enumeration section, which looks like it's going to be a little bit, it's going to be a lot more active. So they're going to be talking about vulnerability scanning with Nessus after that. And then you're obviously going into exploitation. So we're really starting to get into the meat and potatoes of this course. I'm really, really enjoying it. Heath has done a great job in like very, very clearly explaining what these tools do, why you would use them. Like I said, couple of nitpicks on, different things that he could have added to make things like even more powerful. But honestly, like this is a really great section of the course. He does a great job in explaining things like very clearly, like why things are useful. The part on social media and like different things that you can look for on company social media that could be super valuable. That was awesome because you see people uploading like pictures of their badges all the time on social media, and like him basically calling them out and saying like, hey, that is dangerous. That was pretty cool. Talking about breach credentials, there were several parts of this that honestly I'd never seen the tools used before. Like for example, if you get hashes during some sort of penetration test, or if they're like revealed to you in some way, there are like entire SaaS applications that collect those hashes and either try to crack them or like try to basically compare the hashes with hashes that are already paired with cracked passwords and like pair those two together. So if you've got a hash, you search for it and it already has like a mapping to a password, they'll go ahead and give it to you. That was super cool. Did not know that those tools existed. He also did a great job in highlighting where there are paid tools, but also saying you don't necessarily need these. You can do most of this either for free or on a budget. That was really cool to see. I know that Heath has kind of like dedicated a lot of his career to making sure that cybersecurity becomes more affordable as a like learning path. So it's cool to see him kind of like continue that devotion within the really cheap coursework that he creates. So really that's about it. I don't want to discuss like a ton of stuff just like super in depth because that would be giving away a lot of the course and I wouldn't do that. But I just wanted to say like if you're really kind of looking into potentially buying this course and you're wondering if it's worth it, in my opinion, the information gathering and reconnaissance section of this course is worth $30 in and of itself. I think that in itself is a $30 value. So if you've been enjoying this series, kind of my walkthrough, the PNPT and eventually the OSCP, let me know in the comments. Let me know different questions that you have. I'm going to kind of accelerate these videos a little bit and include a couple of sections at a time, just because I'm going to be accelerating my learning a little bit. But if you've been enjoying it, let me know. Take it easy. Peace.